All right, Ambush, and today we are joined by a sultry voiced R&B, a singer, a song, a writer. She just released her debut track under a new persona, under a new name, under a new style. Ooh, and we are here to dive into all of that with my guest here today, Ria Barkr. How's it going today, Ria?
Good. How are you guys doing?
I am doing a fantastic. Always good when I get to talk one of my favorite topics, music.
That's right.
Hey, and that's what we're here today. We're here to talk about a new single entitled Work on It. But of course, before we dive into the new single itself, I mentioned there in the intro, you recently went through a little bit of a shift in name and sound and energy here. So first thing that I want to know is exactly what inspired this shift?
I think it was part of 2020, honestly. This room is just my music room. It's like off to into the house. It's just my little like corner that I go into and I just do not come out. And it's like, there's no windows in here. So when I do come out, I'm like, what time is it? So I came in here. The first part of 2020 was really hard, but once I went over to the UK and had a bunch of tracks to write to and stuff, I came in here probably around March and just started really getting into the zone of like who I wanted to be and all my stuff, all the stuff that came out. Cause most of the songs from my EP, I either wrote alone or with one other person. So I really just kind of found myself through that being in here alone, cause I had nowhere else to be. So I just kind of channeled all of that energy into here and into a good way instead of depressed.
Exactly, right? Everyone handled everything differently, which is perfectly okay. Everybody does that, but you use this time to be creative.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Awesome. And with that creativity, it brought a little bit of a shift in sound, in name, as we mentioned there. And you sort of shifted a little bit from instrumentation to a little bit more of that synth style. Was that something that you sort of came with this time at home? Was just sort of what exactly inspired that?
I think it was just other artists that I really like. Like I love SZA. I love Tank, like R&B Tank, like 90s R&B Tank, like old Tank, right? So I love his music, always have. He still creates amazing music. So I think those are massive influences of mine. And I just loved their sound, So I think that's kind of what helped it a little bit.
Okay. And of course, you mentioned you also had the opportunity, even in all of this, being trapped in a room with no lights in the back of a house. At one point during this timeline, you had the opportunity to escape not just outside, but also over to the UK to work with a couple producers over there. So how did that come together and what was that like?
It was so awesome. I mean, it was so fun. So just a background on how I met them. So in 2018, they messaged me and they were like, hey, we have a couple beats. We've seen some of your, covers online. We would love to, collaborate on something. So I was like, okay, might as well listen to it, so they sent over stuff and I was listening to it. And actually I remember being at home. So like I'm from Bristol, Virginia, and I grew up on a farm and my mom is also in the music industry. So we were down by the river, literally, and I put it on my phone in the car and I was like, oh, this is good. And mom was like, yeah, this is really good. And she's like, I'm vibing with this, cause she helped me write the first song that I put out. So anyway, so they kind of influenced my sound from the jump, and we had been working together for 2-3 years without ever actually like meeting each other in person. So when we finally met in 2020, which we met right before everything happened, okay. I almost got stuck there. Like it was cutting it real close. But when we met, it was like we had known each other forever, because, we had been talking and like collaborating on music. So when we got there, it was just like an instant connection. It was amazing. There's two of them. One's Jared Harding, and the other guy's name is Simon. And Simon does more like alt punk stuff, and Jared, we kind of just do like R&B pop stuff. So mainly work with Jared, but Simon is also a fun time. So, and they own the studio together there.
Ah, so they're just happen to be the team. They sort of found you, and then it was waiting for that perfect moment to finally actually connect and get some magic done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was so fun. It was amazing. It was an incredible opportunity to grow, because I also went by myself, to another country. So, and it was a month and a half, and, I'd been out of the United States before, but, just going alone it's a whole different beast. So, just to conquer that alone felt amazing.
An entire month and a half. So did you just like rent a place out for a little bit, or how did that work? Oh,
I did.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I rented out an Airbnb, and it actually wasn't that expensive, not even close to as expensive as how a hotel would be, obviously. But yeah, I just rented out this little place, and she gave me a good discount on it, honestly. So yeah, and just stayed there and just kind of worked through, all of it. So it was awesome. We did around like 20 songs. So
Oh my goodness. So you've been sitting on quite a few tracks here then.
yeah, 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 I
Oh,
have. I
wow.
picked through, and yeah, so I had so much fun. I mean, the time change was a little hard. I tried not to I tried to kind of work through that because I was still really tired, but I was also so excited to be there that it just kind of trumped it. So
Sometimes that energy you get, like when you're on a vacation or just in a new place, right? Sometimes it just helps to carry you through that jet lag.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So you mentioned you had about 20 songs there. So how exactly does a Work For It end up becoming that track that has to be the debut song?
Oh man, that's interesting. I don't know. I think that was a good starter song. It was also one of the first I that I had written when I got back. So I felt like that was the perfect one to start with, since it's the first one I wrote from the batch of
Hmm.
songs. And yeah, I thought it was a great one to start with. Since we produced so many tracks together, when I got home, and started writing them, I kind of, dwindled out and just kind of down to like the ones that I really wanted to release. So, which is really cool because I got to pick and choose, like, which songs felt more like me. So that was an amazing process, and Work For It just kind of came out of that. So
Perfect. All right. Well, I think this is a perfect moment to dive into a Work For It and all that work that went into it. So what exactly are you trying to capture inside of this track?
I think it's really just like the female persona of empowerment, and getting a guy to work for your attention. It's always the
Make
opposite
them earn
way.
it.
So I kind of wanted, yeah, exactly. I just kind of wanted to, switch the narrative on that. And it's crazy because it's like I wasn't in that situation at the time in life. Like it didn't spark from my own, like, it was actually a character that I wanted to put myself into, and I did. So it wasn't my own, experience based. It was really just a character that I wanted to portray. So I kind of put myself into that character, and I'm like, okay, what would this feel like, or what would this be like if it was right now? So and that's what I did. So it was fun, and I had a good time. I wrote it alone, and it took me probably like a week or so to completely finish. And yeah, it came together, quite easily, honestly, which is great. It was not a lot of resistance.
Had you written from a different perspective before, or is it normally from your own experience?
Normally it is from a different perspective. And most of the time I don't write from my own experience. Actually, I write from other people's experiences around me. And I don't know why I do that. I think it makes it easier to tap into it because it's not an emotional like feeling that I personally have, but it's an emotional feeling that someone else has had, and I'm very empathetic. So I like to write from that persona a lot.
Hey, it works, right? Sometimes it can be a little intimidating to put everything about yourself out into the world, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. But of course, you are releasing a piece of yourself into the world. And after waiting quite a bit of time to get that out into the world, what was it like to finally have Work For It Out released on March 11th there?
Oh my gosh. I was like, we were going through like, we were really trying to, my manager and I were really trying to find, what distribution company we wanted and just so many like, all the stuff you got to go through to release a song. Really, we were just trying to figure out the best case scenario here and here. And I felt like there was a little bit of resistance in that way because it was like, get it out, get it out. And then eventually I was like, just release it. I don't care where it is. I just want it out. Like I have birthed it and now it needs to go out. Now I need to birth something else. So we just need to put this out into the universe and let it do its thing. So I was so like just relieved to get it out. It felt like just amazing for people to hear like that side of me, completely different sound. And I was just pumped. I was just excited.
Absolutely. And of course, you mentioned excited to have the people hear that other side of you. And that's one thing that I definitely want to dive into is the reception to this track, because from an industry standpoint, you've played listed on Tidal, on Amazon, on quite a few different platforms there. But there's also the aspect of some of the people who have been listening to your music have been following you since probably 2018, maybe a little bit further than that. So, what has been the reception from those longtime fans to this new sound, this new track?
I think it's really receptive, honestly. I've had a lot of people DM me and that have been with me for a while, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I love the new track. Like it sounds so amazing." They're like, "The cover is just as hot as the track," and they're like, "This is dope." You know, and like literally, yeah, literally one guy, I guess this was a newer, I had most of the fans that I have, I try to communicate with as much as I can just because it's fun and I love learning more about them. But this one guy, he was a newer one, and he he said, "I'm going to work for your for your attention." Like I was like, that is the best pickup line I have ever heard. I thought that was an amazing pickup line. So I told him, I was like, that deserves an Oscar for that for that writing of
He did the assignment. He listened to the work, right?
and he did. It was so funny. Yeah, it was really funny. But he ended up saying, he really liked the song and that was nice. So I've been getting nothing but good feedback, which is great.
Awesome. And then, of course, what is it like to see your track getting playlisted, to know that you're hitting the ground running?
Oh my gosh, it is amazing. Just like the Tidal one was big because it was like I was fourth on Tidal Rising, and so it's like I wasn't at the very bottom, and we didn't know if I was going to get that at all. And then we just got an email, and we were like, "Oh my god!" And it was right before a show, and Brian, he's my manager, and he came up to me and he was like, "We just got on Tidal Rising." I was like, "What? Are you kidding me?" "No, we didn't." "Yes." And he was like, "Yes, we did." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is so exciting." So they always have like great R&B and hip hop music, so it's like, that was a huge win for us. And then Amazon, we didn't even know about that one. So we did not even get contacted about that one. I just went on Amazon for Artists page and I was like, "Wait, what?" And I looked on it and it was like breaking through R&B, and I was like, oh my God, wait, I didn't even know about this one. This is amazing. And so I called him and he was like, "No, this is crazy. This is awesome." So that felt really good too. The fact that I didn't know I was on a playlist until I was already on it, and it was, doing well. So that felt really great.
Hey, it's taken off.
Yeah, yeah, it felt so good.
Well, I'm glad that it does, and I'm glad to see that you're getting this work done, getting the work for it out into the world. Of course, we've mentioned through the past years earlier, it's been a little more difficult. Sometimes we're trapped inside of a dark room in the back of a house. But of course, before that, some of us were playing live stages, and you did have quite a few opportunities to do that before everything shut down, having being able to play a couple festivals and otherwise. What is the anticipation like to finally take this new sound, this new version of Ria onto the live stage?
It's been very difficult, honestly. So before, I just before the pandemic happened. So this was right before I went to the UK, where I almost got stuck and then came home in March. But in January, I was in New York City and I did iHeartRadio and Major Stage and tons of So Far Sounds gigs, which I love that company. I really love performing with them. And just I was doing shows quite a bit, and you get into the swing of that doing live shows. You get used to it. You get good quick, and vocally you sound great a lot more because you're in better shape because you're doing it more. It's just a muscle. So, so going back into that was like scary because even though you're recording or you're singing for, whatever, it's not the same as actually performing live. So it's been very difficult to kind of get back into the swing of things. And I've just kind of been throwing myself at it right now, just do whatever, just get on stage. Like, it does not matter. Just do it because I'm trying to get, that back because it's difficult once you haven't been performing because it's a muscle. It really is. So, you just have to work it, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
as best as possible. So I'm excited to get out as like more this summer and play more shows and maybe even travel a little bit. Atlanta is a great market for me. So I really love going to Atlanta, and we'll also be going to LA soon. So those are great markets and that's a lot of fun too. So I just want to get back to having a lot of fun on stage and not like being in my head, like worrying about, okay, is this going to sound this way? And this is going to, because I'm a perfectionist, of course, like everyone else. So,
Artists.
yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. So I just want to get back up there and start really enjoying it again and loving it. And I know that just comes with time. So
Hey, awesome. Well, once that time comes, right, get that practice in and get her done.
yes, yes, exactly.
All
Exactly.
right, awesome. And of course, earlier in this interview, you mentioned you had about 20 songs there packaged up, possibly ready to go. And of course, I happen to know that Work For It is our first taste of an upcoming
Yeah.
debut EP. So without giving away too much, what can you tell us about this upcoming project?
So this upcoming project, it, like I said, it was written in this dark room in the back of a back of a house, and most of it was recorded with my good friend CJO. She wrote with me one of the songs, co-wrote one of the songs with me, and then just she was the engineer for a lot of it, and we worked together through 2020 and 2021 quite a bit, and now we're great friends, which is amazing. It's always nice having a female engineer too because it's such a man's industry. So having a female is really empowering too, and she's so talented. It's just ridiculous. But I worked with her and a few other people. And the next song that I'll be releasing soon, like 4 to 6 weeks, will be Tennis. So that's the next release. And that is actually a personal one. So like I said, most of the time I'm trying to portray a character and kind of, being empathetic towards others and pulling that in. But this one actually came from a personal experience, and it's called Tennis, and it's kind of like we're going back and forth swinging words that hurt. So like, but I got a fetish to stay playing with you on this court. So those are the lyrics to the song. So it's really about being in a toxic relationship, going back and forth. You're always fighting with each other. And that was a personal experience that I had. So it did bring a lot into the song. And that will be released at the end of April, or yeah, it should be released at the end of April.
Oh, all right. So if the listeners, the fans, want to stay up to date with that, they best go to their favorite streaming music service. Best follow you there. Best follow you on their favorite social media too, so that they can stay up to date with not just tennis, an upcoming EP, upcoming concert dates, whatever's coming their way, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Definitely want to do it. I'll have some links down in the description of the show below, make it a little bit easier for them. Perfect. Awesome. I have had a blast chatting so far, Ria. I have one last question. Are you ready for it?
Yes, I am.
All right. So, of course, we have talked about the last couple of years here, the shift in style and sound, persona, this time of working towards getting this new single, work for it, out into the world. So what I would like to know now is this period of this last year, this last 2 years here, how exactly has it helped you to grow as a person, or what has it taught you about yourself?
Wow. I think it's taught me to be patient. That's definitely, because you can try to plan as much as you want, but the universe is gonna give you what you least expect. It honestly, it's most of the time what you plan is not what is supposed to happen, and that's just the way it goes. So being patient and allowing, I've said resistance quite a bit, but allowing for the least resistance, because if you're resisting something and you're putting that energy out, then it's going to come back in that way. So I've been trying to be as open as possible and just as receptive as possible to any type of opportunity that comes my way, and not try to put myself in a box of this needs to be done and then this needs to be done. And so it's really helped me kind of let go and just flow, just flow through it, honestly. Yeah, I think that's what it's taught me.
Just not sit there and try and put the square peg in the round hole, right? I am RNB.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I need to do this first and then this first. Yeah, exactly. So it's really helped. It's really helped with just letting it flow and just not freaking out about everything or taking things too seriously, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't have the capacity to change what's going to happen, because that's not what's supposed to happen, So you just kind of have to go for it. You just have to be along for the ride. So, and that's kind of what I'm doing. So.
Perfect. Well, I love to hear it. And it sounds like a very good lesson to learn. I thank you for sharing it, and also for sharing the story behind this new single, Work For It, with us here today on the DTP.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you. This has been fun.